Hello and welcome to the ISEP Puerto Rico Pre-Departure Orientation. My name is Kira Hawkinson and I'm the Student Services Officer for the Americas and Southern Europe at ISEP. All right, so here's our agenda for today: culture and daily life, academic matters, health and safety before you go, and keeping in touch with ISEP. All right, let's get started with life in Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico is a small island with a rich history in the center of the Caribbean. It has a beautiful tropical climate. It's an unincorporated territory of the United States where the official languages are both Spanish and English. Culture incorporates a blend of elements from Taino, Spanish, and African cultures. Family life, or familismo, which means dedication, commitment, and loyalty to family. Family is very important in Puerto Rican culture, so gathering and spending time with the extended family is very common. All right, daily life in Puerto Rico. There's lots of imported goods from the United States. Festival and outside gatherings are common, and outdoor recreational activities. There's a lot of natural wonders that Puerto Rico has to offer, so if you have the opportunity, go and visit some of the local public beaches, waterfalls, rainforests. You can go hiking. There's plenty of things to do. Stores are generally open from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Sundays 11 a.m. till 7 p.m. Similar to the United States, there's a 9 to 5 working schedule, which is pretty common throughout the world. Banks and government entities open 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. There's a lot of nightlife in Old San Juan, a historical district in the capital, so if you have the opportunity, definitely take part in that. Puerto Rico is on Atlantic Standard Time. All right, interpersonal relationships. People are less conscientious about personal space, so they might be a little bit closer to you when you're talking, a little bit more touchy-feely. So just something to be aware of, obviously within reason. If it's uncomfortable, you could let someone know, but it's a common thing in Latin American culture and specifically in Puerto Rico. Many cultural influences from Latin American culture. There's a strong importance with family and communal activities, like I said earlier, with familismo. The common way to greet people is with a firm handshake and the proper professional title. You can use greetings based on the time of day: buenos dias, buenos tardes, or buenas noches. And then to greet someone, señor, señora, or profesor, especially in more professional settings. Obviously, if you're talking to your friend, you don't have to use these terms. But again, when you're talking to your professor or something like that, it's good to use them. Here's some common phrases at the bottom in Puerto Rico. One of my favorites is chévere, or que chévere, which means cool, kind of a fun one to use. All right, so housing. Housing will depend on the campus that you're on. So the Rio Piedras campus is a residence hall. It's at Plaza Universitaria, 2 students per room. At the MAIOR campus, it's student house or apartment, which is off campus. You share with other international university students. It is a furnished apartment and it is paid using the stipend provided by your host institution. Please note that not all apartments will have Wi-Fi. Some students only use internet on campus or purchase a data hotspot. Please be sure to read through the housing section of your acceptance package thoroughly for more information about housing. You can ask your ISEP host coordinator if you're unclear on something before signing a lease. All right. Meals. So meals in Puerto Rico are a flavorful mix of Spanish, African, Taino, and American influences. I haven't personally been to Puerto Rico myself, but everyone I know who has gone there has said that the food is really, really delicious. Breakfast and lunch times mirror those of the United States, while dinners might be a little bit later after 6 p.m. Chicken, pork, and shellfish are common ingredients in dishes, especially since it's surrounded by the ocean. There's going to be a lot of delicious seafood. Soups are common appetizers, followed by stews. You'll likely, when you're at a restaurant, you might share dishes, especially if you're with local Puerto Ricanos. Foods to know about are right here, like mofongo. Then we have some pictures below of these national dishes. All right, restaurants. Restaurants are usually open daily for lunch and dinner. Puerto Rican locals generally dress up to go out, particularly in the evening, so maybe don't wear your beach attire or workout attire when going to dinner. Take that opportunity to dress up a little bit, have some fun with your friends. Tipping is expected. You should check for an added service charge or gratuity on your bill. If this isn't already included, then you should tip about 15 to 20% of the total bill. There is also lots of street food vendors. You can talk to your host coordinator about the best places for street food vendors. Here's a couple of examples of where to go for some delicious street food. All right, technology in Puerto Rico. Wi-Fi is available in certain restaurants and university buildings. Popular mobile phone carriers can operate well throughout the island. For example, AT&T and T-Mobile. American SIM cards will work in Puerto Rico. So you may just want to check with your provider first if you're coming from the United States, kind of data rates and different charges that apply if you're going to Puerto Rico. Claro, Puerto Rico is the most common popular telecommunication company within Puerto Rico. There's a couple different options depending on where you're coming from. If you're coming from the US, it might be just better to stick with the provider that you have. If you're coming from another country, you may want to rent a SIM card while you're there. Just be sure that you get your phone unlocked first so that it will accept the SIM card. You can also check with your provider as far as international plans. The power plugs and sockets are type A and B. You can see some examples at the bottom there. If you do not have that in your country, please be sure to bring the correct adapters or converters with you. All right, finances in Puerto Rico. The official currency is the US dollar. Here's a conversion there to euros. Credit cards are widely accepted throughout Puerto Rico, especially common ones like Visa and MasterCard. ATMs are all around, usually linked to common US bank institutions. If you need to exchange currency, you can do it at the airport or any large bank branches such as Banco Popular. It's recommended that if you're going to a rural area or a small community to bring some cash with you, especially if you're planning on, going to a restaurant or buying some gifts or something like that. They may not accept credit cards or debit cards, so it's good to bring some cash with you. Prices of meals or goods in San Juan are similar to that of major cities in the US, so about $10 to $15 per meal. Obviously, it depends on the restaurant that you go to or the business. Something to keep in mind is it is an island and a lot of things are imported, so just know that some of the prices might be a little bit marked up because they've been imported to Puerto Rico. All right, sports and leisure. Most popular sports are baseball, basketball, and boxing. There's a very rich history of these sports and cultural ties to the island. Tropical terrains allow for a lot of fun outdoor activities like hiking, fishing, cycling, horseback riding. Definitely take part of these activities if you have the chance. Puerto Rico is a beautiful place and a lot of natural wonders. Places to check out, specifically El Yunque is one of the oldest natural reserves in the Western Hemisphere. The bioluminescent bay is a body of water off the coast of Vieques. It's beautiful. I'll show you a picture here in a second. It has all the bioluminescent algae, and you can go at night and go kayaking and stuff like that. It's really beautiful. There's also Old San Juan, has wonderful historical buildings and lots of opportunities for shopping and different activities. Here's some pictures of the places I just described. You can see the bioluminescent bay there. That is a pretty cool thing to see if you haven't experienced that before. All right, major holidays and vacation periods. I'm not going to go over everything, but if you want, you can pause the video at this point and just kind of go over the different holidays and vacation periods throughout the year in Puerto Rico. A couple things you may want to know. Hand gestures and movements are often used in daily conversation. People will signal to waiters, for example, by making a psst sound. Both the imperial and metric system are used in Puerto Rico. All right, culture shock. Culture shock is a very common thing that will happen to most study abroad students when they go abroad. You're going to a totally different country and maybe a completely different culture than what you are used to. So just something to be aware of, that this is really normal, that you may go through different ups and downs periods of just adjusting to the different culture and country. You may be, a little bit overwhelmed or frustrated or lonely at times. Just know that this is very normal for students to go through. But again, if you have, if you're really struggling and you're not able to adjust and you're feeling overwhelmed for several weeks and you need some help, feel free to reach out to me or your host coordinator to ask any questions how you can better adjust to life in Puerto Rico. All right, so here's some reflections from past ISEP students. Please feel free to pause the video at this point and just kind of read through some of the experiences of past ISEP students. Moving on to academics. All right, the higher education system in Puerto Rico. Note that the teaching and grading style may be a little different in your home country, so different from what you're used to. It's mostly based on the American model. However, classes will largely be conducted in Spanish. Here's kind of the academic calendar, fall through August. Fall is August until December and spring is January until May. U.S. undergraduate curriculum consists of general education courses and then courses concentrated in a major field of study, which is very common in the U.S. You have your elective courses that you take as well as your major courses. Progressive evaluation with consistent assignments throughout the semester. So you'll have assignments and maybe papers and different things that you have to do, maybe even a midterm or some other little exams or quizzes, and then you'll have a final exam at the end. Students commonly take 4 to 5 classes per semester. All right, campus culture. So there definitely should be opportunities for you to get involved. You can volunteer or community engagement opportunities. There could be credit-bearing service learning opportunities that you can take part in. Definitely ask your host coordinator. They'll go over this in orientation, but if there's a specific club or organization or sports team that you want to take part in, you can ask them how you can join, as well as student campus events. All right, academics. Lecturing is the principal method of instruction. Some professors, like I said, will have midterm exams. Final exams taken in December and May, covering the material throughout the semester. So be sure that you're going to class, doing the assignments, and taking good notes. After last day of classes, varies depending on the institution, exams for each of your classes occur during the course of several days. So there'll be like an exam week for you to take your final exams. Going on with the credit system, common, like I said, to take 4 to 5 classes per semester, 12 to 15 hours spent in class per week. Students earn credit hours for courses taken. For undergraduate, expect to take at least 12 credit hours. For graduate, expect to take at least 9 credit hours. You can take a variety of courses in different disciplines. Just be sure that you check with your home institution about the minimum number of courses you need to take while abroad. Also, your home institution will ultimately determine how many credits will transfer back to your major or your institution. All right, registration. Registration is often done electronically, may be a bit time-consuming process that you'll have to complete special forms for. If you have any questions, you can reach out to your host coordinator about this process. Only classes students register officially appear on the transcript, obviously, and check your pre-departure information for dates as far as registration and stuff like that. Academics, interaction with professors. Professors are generally approachable after lectures for questions. You can take part in the horario de tutorías or office hours. You can make an appointment with your professor, email them. Just be sure that if you do have questions, reach out to your professor or classmate, just classmates to get some extra help. If you're not able to get in contact with your professor, you need some help, you can write to me or your academic advisor or your host university coordinator. All right, health and safety. Critical health and safety resources. Please be sure to review the health and safety presentation and health and safety information available in your ISEP account. You can review resources such as personal safety while abroad. Follow guidelines from your peers and your host coordinators. Please be sure to review your insurance coverage. More in-depth information about your insurance coverage can also be found on the ISEP website. We have whole pages dedicated to health and safety resources and information about ISEP insurance. Please be sure to use on-campus resources that are available to you as well. And also save the 24/7 ISEP emergency line. Please only call this line in case of a health and safety emergency. For all other kind of questions and inquiries, you can reach out to me or your host coordinator. Reminder, the Puerto Rico Emergency Services number is 911. All right, continuing with health and safety in Puerto Rico. Protests and strikes are very common in Latin America, but we asked all of our ISEP students that they do not attend any protests. Even planned peaceful protests can turn very rowdy or violent at any point, so please, again, do not attend these. Pay attention to security warnings from your university or local government. You can blend in, follow local social norms, mind your pockets. Petty thefts can be a common occurrence in Puerto Rico, so it's a good idea to be mindful of stuff like your wallet and your phone. Maybe have a money belt, something that you can, it's a little belt that you can, goes underneath your clothes to conceal any kind of money or different things like that. Avoid displays of wealth. Maybe don't flash your brand new iPhone or diamond earrings or something like that around when you're just kind of walking on the street, especially at night. Be aware of your surroundings as always. Practice safe and responsible use of alcohol if you choose to drink. If you're out at night with friends and you've been drinking a little bit, just look after each other and be careful. You can ask your host coordinator about areas to avoid, especially at night. I'm sure they'll go over this in orientation, but if you have any other questions about specifically different areas that are safe or not safe, you can talk to them. All right. Health and safety in Puerto Rico. So hurricanes and earthquakes do happen, something to be aware of. Hurricane season officially begins on June 1st and ends on November 30th. So if you're going in the spring, I don't think you will have to worry about this as much. Just be aware of, if the hurricane will be occurring, just to be up to date on that. And small earthquakes can occur across the island throughout the year. They can be, smaller or bigger. You can go to ready.gov, has information on preparing for a hurricane or earthquake and tips and instructions on what to do before, during, and after. I'm sure they'll go over this in orientation as well, but if you have any specific questions, you can ask your host coordinator as well on, how to react in the case of an earthquake, especially if that's something that you're not used to in your home country. All right, know before you go. So packing, apparel needs for sunny weather. So Puerto Rico is a very warm tropical climate, so you're going to want to have plenty of shorts, short sleeves, sandals, things like that. But you may, as I said earlier, if you're going out to a restaurant, you want to dress nicely. So it might be good to dress some formal or pack some formal attire as well, as far as dresses, pants, nice blouses, things like that. For toiletries, if you have a specific item that you use while you are in your home country that you can't get in Puerto Rico, just be sure to bring enough with you for the entire time. Same goes for medications. Please bring enough with you for the entirety of your program. A suggestion is I would pack it in your carry-on and not your checked luggage, just in the case that you were to, that your checked luggage was to get lost. You wouldn't want to be without your medications. Please also be sure to bring any prescription or maybe the chemical generic makeup and name of your medication in the case that you needed to get more while you were in Puerto Rico. Electrical needs, as I said, A and B is in Puerto Rico, so bring any converters or adapters that depending on the country that you're coming from. It's a good idea to bring paper copies of important documents in your carry-on. So don't put them in your checked luggage, like I said, in the case that it gets lost. So maybe copies of your passport, your acceptance letter, your insurance information. For students coming from outside of the US, please be sure to bring your DS 2019 for your port of entry. You can also check your pre-departure information in your ISEP portal to see if there's anything else that won't be included as far as housing, for example, sheets and towels, and you just want to see if you'll need to bring that with you or purchase when you get on site. Right, to do before you go. If you're a direct student, please be sure to pay your program fee 30 days before the start date of your program. I mentioned earlier you can check data plan with your phone provider for international plans, or if you're coming from the US, you can most likely use your plan in Puerto Rico, or you can look into getting a SIM card. Make sure you know the date and location of your host site orientation. This is available in your ISEP account under your pre-departure information. Write down the address of where you're going and carry it in your carry-on. Again, it's always good to have it in a carry-on just in case that your checked luggage is lost, that you know exactly where you're going to be going. And I've said this before, but make electronic copies of all of your important documents, and it's a good idea to put it on a Google Drive or other online storage system in the case that they got lost or damaged, that you can print out another copy. Keeping in touch. Determine before you leave how you plan to stay in touch with your family and friends back home. If you want, you can go to our ISEP website. We have tips for staying in touch, a list there on that page. Please be sure to contact your family once you've arrived safely. If you know that you're not going to have access to Wi-Fi or be able to contact them right away, please tell them that before you leave. But yeah, just be sure that you let your family know that you got there safe, because they're going to want to know if you got there okay, and just to let them know how you're doing. All right, you can connect with ISEP students and share your stories. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can become a digital ambassador and do kind of an Instagram takeover, for example, and you can share to the story, or our story, and talk about your daily life, share pictures, videos, kind of what it's like in Puerto Rico. We love to see this, so I definitely recommend taking part if you can. You can also hashtag ISEP Study Abroad for your photos and videos that you share. Again, we love to see this stuff. It's great to see how our students are doing while they're abroad on their program. All right, I think that's it for this pre-departure orientation. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or your host coordinator, and I hope you have an amazing time abroad in Puerto Rico.